Out of sight, out of mind, out of touch, but out of line with me. Honey, I'm missing you, I keep missing you. I walk in a tightrope that's very fine. Keeping yourself on the edge all the time, spent with me. Honey, I'm missing you, I keep missing you. And when I'm missing you, when I'm missing you, keeping you far, I'm trying to keep you closer to me.
My name is Landry Crawford, and I have a passion for Jesus, art, the elderly, and learning about history from the source. My goals are to share the Word of God and to share history from those who helped create it. Welcome to His Story.
Hi, this is Landry Crawford. I create scripture-based art, and this is just for people who don't know me yet, but I create scripture-based art in hopes that, people can reach God through it. And, I can read the Bible, but I can make art too, and I do. Uh, so as of last year, I started homeschooling. I've learned how to do a lot more things. I've learned how to create art. I've learned how to talk to people better. Overall, I think it's been better for me. I started this new segment called His Story. So like God's story, His story, and Veteran's story, His story also. So it's kind of a play on words, but I hope to be interviewing more veterans with this. But my first veteran, I'm super excited, is an 85-year-old man named Lionel DeCuir, who has been on Street Talk before to talk about his 50 years of research. But today we're going to talk about his story, again, play on words, and just his life, because it is his story. And I want to learn about history, and Lionel is a part of history. So, Chris, could you bring on Lionel, please? Hey, Lionel.
Hey, how are you doing, Landry?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. And I want to say, Landry, from my heart to your heart, it's my honor to be interviewed by you, especially to be the first one to be picked. So remember, from my heart to your heart, I appreciate it.
Oh, that's sweet, Lionel. You're one of my favorite veterans so far that I know. But you'll always be number one because you're basically like my grandpa to me now. So I wanted to start off the show by asking you some questions about your childhood and talking briefly about your childhood. What was it like growing up? How is it different from today? I'm sure it obviously is different, but like, what are some ways it's different?
Landry, it's completely different from what it is now, except there are cases out there where it's not, because I watch different podcasts of individuals everywhere, but for the most part, for the majority of children growing up, it's different. Landry, I grew up on a dairy farm in New Iberia, Louisiana. That's real down south in Louisiana. All of us in this battle of good versus evil, and you talking about the Bible and your artwork and everything. Some of our ancestors came from Italy, like we both know Stoletta, where she came from. Some came from Germany, from France, Africa, and many other places. But we're all joining together in this battle. But like I said, I was born in New Iberia, Louisiana. Grew up on a dairy farm. In fact, I grew up on 3 different dairy farms because I lived on the end of Iberia Street in New Iberia, and across from me, my grandfather had a dairy farm. My uncle had a dairy farm. That's where he bottled the milk. And back then they had milkmen that would deliver milk to your doorsteps. And then my daddy, who worked for an oil company, also had a side dairy about 5 or 6 miles from where we lived, where he raised cows.
So 3 dairy farms. Wow. So growing up around 3 dairy farms, I assume you drank raw milk often. I mean, today people say like raw milk, like, oh, it's going to kill you or you're going to get sick. I've drinking raw milk before. Nothing has happened. It probably actually made me feel better. Did you grow up drinking raw milk?
Are you kidding? That's all we had. There wasn't anything such thing as pasteurized milk. In fact, some of my fondest memories are after they would milk the cows. They would take those buckets and pour them over it looked like a big hand washboard. I don't know if you're talking where people wash their clothes, but the milk would run down and get cold. And there was a cup there that we all used. We would hold it underneath where after the milk would get cold, and we'd all drink from that same cup. We'd even have milk fights where we would line up two cows next to each other and squirt each other with milk, and it would get in our mouths and everything. And we didn't get sick for that at all.
Yeah, so it was way different from what it is now. You know, people only give their kids like pasteurized milk now, but back then it was way different from what I know for sure. Like you didn't have to worry about stuff. Like, you know, what did you do for fun?
Well, one of the first things I want to say is one of the most important things that went on back then is my mother and dad, my aunts and uncles, and my neighbors, you always said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, to everybody. So you learn courtesy and learn to respect your elders and everything. But we did all kind of things that were fun. I had about 15 cousins, and every weekend, those that didn't live right around us would come there. We played in the hay. Of course, when you have a dairy farm, you've got a big hay barn, and we would build tunnels that we would travel through the hay and everything. We weren't supposed to play in the hay, but of course we did. We played such things as hide and seek, where we would hide throughout my grandfather's farm, whether it be in the dairy part or the behind the outhouse, because there was a big outhouse with about 4 stalls there. So we'd play hide and seek. We'd play Red Rover, Red Rover. We'd build tree houses. I remember we had one that was made out of a door that we put in a tree. We fished for crawdads. Do you know, Landry, what crawdads are?
Yes, I do, Lionel.
Okay. Well, being back down around Houston, you should know. But for those that don't know, we would get a fishing pole and put a string on it and put some kind of weight on it, put a little piece of chicken on it, put it in a pond that we had close by, and the crawdads would come up and bite that, and then we'd pull them up and then take them home, and guess what we ate for supper? Crawdads.
Yeah. So speaking of, you know, all the way back then, when I'm like hearing a story like what you're telling me now, Lionel, the story's good, but pictures are really helpful to me too. And luckily, we have some pictures of you, Lionel, when you were a little kid. So, Chris, can you put up pic 1, please? You fishing?
That's me fishing. You see that little white-looking bucket?
Mm-hmm.
That's a little container of worms, and I'm putting worms on there. I'm probably about 6 or 7 years of age there.
Yeah. You fishing for crawdads?
Well, probably I was fishing for fish then. I don't know. It could have been crawdads. We fished with anything that come get on our hook. We didn't have some kind of game in our hand where we stayed at home and played games. We were outdoors all the time. We were grounded. We were barefoot. You know, the road, Iberia Street, it wasn't made out of cement, or back then it was made out of crushed up white shells. So that's what our road was made out of. But we fished, we crawdad, we hunted for blackberries. In fact, the first money that I ever made, I'll never forget, was picking blackberries, and I'd sell them to this little country store that was by my house, and I bought a little bitty pocket knife with that, and I was so proud of that.
Yeah, my grandma had a crawfish farm.
Oh, really? My goodness. So you know all about crawfish.
Yeah, it's good and everything to me.
Have you ever eaten etouffee?
Yes, it's my favorite dish.
Oh, my goodness. How about dirty rice? Have you ever
Yeah.
heard of that?
Yeah,
I bet you never heard of boudin sausage.
I eat that all the time.
Well, my goodness. You're just a regular Cajun then.
Yeah.
Life back then, Landry, was so much fun. My cousins and I, we were all the same age, 4, 5, 6-year-old. We would walk a couple miles every Saturday to the movies without thinking of being hurt or harmed. We'd get 25 cents. And with that 25 cents, we could get into the movie, buy a bunch of popcorn, and buy a drink all for a quarter. And most of the time, what we watched was Westerns. And also during those Westerns, this was right during World War II, they would have a newsreel and show what was going on in Europe, in France, and all of that. So it was so much fun. And we didn't think a thing, or our parents didn't think a thing of us walking, a couple miles to the town.
Yeah, I wish we could still pay that price for just going to the movies and getting snacks. But now the snacks cost more than the movie. And speaking of your cousins, we have a picture of you and your cousins, I believe. Chris, can you put up pic 2, please? So which one is you, Lionel?
Well, the one on the left is my little brother, David. And the other one, the next one to him, second from the left, is Dookie, who is another cousin that lived right in our neighborhood. And then I'm the third from the left. And then next to me is Max, who has since died, is no longer with us. In fact, all of those individuals there are gone except me and my brother. But next to me is Max, and then his brother Ernest, and then who was first cousin, and then and next to him, the tallest one is Kenneth, who I wound up going to LSU with for a couple years.
Yeah, well, it's sad that they're gone, but at least everybody can see, the memories that you have.
Oh, I have wonderful memories of living in the country. I had great parents. We've got to remember that so many people didn't have the opportunity that I had and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, earlier you talked about when you went to the movies, you didn't have to worry about, people snatching you up, like kidnappers or getting hurt. I have a clip that I want to play that I think it shows, gives you kind of a visual of that. Chris, can you play clip 1, please? Yeah, they don't look worried at all about anything. They look like they're having a grand old time.
Yeah, what did you see them doing?
Riding the bikes.
Riding the bike. They were outdoors having fun. They weren't stuck behind a screen are stuck in the house. And that's what, we all, every night we played hide and seek, and we'd hide all over the neighborhood. And our parents weren't worried one bit back then about something happening to us. Those were great days.
Yeah, now you can't even like let your kid go 7 feet away from you without being worried someone's gonna kidnap them.
Oh, I know. It's
not
all
good.
All you have to do is turn on the TV and see some little boy or some little missing girl all the time, or you get, the alerts on your phone of someone missing. I'm sure that happened once in a while way back then, but
Not
very
nearly
seldom.
as much as it does today, huh?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break and get all the schedules for Street Talk shows running Sunday through Friday night. Live shows will be here on Rumble, X, and LinkedIn. You can help us by sharing the shows, and my website and Instagram will be posted. We'll be right back.
Reach, reach, keep on reaching. I keep reaching, reaching. I wish we could live at peace. It's really not that hard. I wish we won't hesitate from making leaps and bounds. I'm wishing we could learn to love, a love for who we are. I wouldn't have to wish away my wishes on a star. You hear me calling, I'm calling real loud. You hear me calling, I'm calling to the clouds. You hear me calling, I'm calling real loud. You hear me calling, you know I'm so proud.
So before we went into a break, I shared some pictures of you, and I heard you mention Leona a couple of times. And prior to all this, you told me you had a song that you wanted to share with everybody. Could you like give us a little debrief on what this song is and means to you?
This song, the name of it is New Iberia, New Iberia. And it really tells the story of New Iberia. It's a famous singer who put the song together from down in Louisiana. And he got a bunch of Cajun kids. Do you know what Cajun means?
Acadian Exiles?
If you're down from South Louisiana, you're called a Cajun. But it's a wonderful song. It has this little girl on it singing French. But everybody got along, and everyone back in those days was one big family. I think you'll enjoy hearing it.
Yeah. Chris, can you play clip? It definitely sounds Cajun.
It sure does. I think your audience would enjoy, if they wanted to watch the whole video, go to a search engine and put in, play the song New Iberia, New Iberia, and it'll come up, and I know they'll enjoy it. They'll see this little girl singing in French and everything.
Yeah.
But when I was hearing that, the tears came to my eyes thinking about, the great times I had growing up. And I was so blessed in having parents and aunts and uncles who all set the foundation for my life, for what I became. And I hope I've lived up to their expectations and done what's right in life, because we're in a battle of good versus evil. And they taught me the good and how to fight for that good and everything.
Yeah. Well, Lionel, you make everybody proud, so don't even worry about that. I can guarantee you everybody watching this loves you, because you're just the sweetest person I've ever met.
Did you get that check for $10 for saying that?
Lionel, you don't pay me. I should be paying you to come on here.
No, we're in this together because we love our neighbors. We love those that are not our neighbors that maybe live in South America or Africa. We love all of those people, and we're doing this to expose what's going on in the world and to spread the goodness and the kindness and the love and the arms that we can wrap around each other and help each other each and every day of our lives.
Yeah, I agree, Lionel. So, transitioning into your military years, how did you get into service? What was it like?
Well, like I said, I went to LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I spent 2 years in Baton Rouge at LSU. I flunked out because I didn't apply myself. The only course I passed there, well, I passed 2 of them, was a course called Books and Libraries that you would have to really be an idiot to fail. And then I did quite well in ROTC. And then after that, I went into construction work and worked on highways, building a highway. We lived in Wichita Falls, Texas, and I worked construction. And after those hot summer days in Wichita Falls, I decided I wanted to better myself and to do better. So I went back to school, went to Midwestern University, and I got my draft notice. This was in about 1964, and got my draft notice. So I went to Dallas, and they were going to draft me. And they said the only way I could get out of the draft was to get back in ROTC. So I did. So I got back in college, got back in studying, and took ROTC. And then after I graduated from college, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army.
Wow. Okay. So before your service, how did you perceive it to be, and how was it different from what it actually was?
Before, I didn't know much about the military. I'd heard a few words about Vietnam and about military and all that, but that, really wasn't I didn't have any interest or anything. But I learned quite a bit when I got into the military. I was served for 2 years. I served in 1965 and 66. Vietnam was going on during those times, but I didn't spend any time overseas. I spent about 2 months at Fort Benning, Georgia, receiving my IOBC training, Infantry Officers Basic Course, that we had to go through. Then after that, I got orders to go to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I started off as a training officer. And then most of my time, I became a company commander of a basic training company at Fort Jackson.
Right. So you didn't go overseas, but did you know anybody who went overseas?
Oh, yes. I knew a number because I was in a large ROTC class at Midwestern University. One of my friends was named Lieutenant Ron Miller. And Lieutenant Miller, excuse me, in fact, Lieutenant Miller, Ron, dated my wife before I met Diane, and they dated together, but I knew Ron also in ROTC. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie We Were Soldiers Once and Young, but it was a real battle, a movie that was made out of a real battle where Colonel Moore went into a valley, and they were ambushed there by thousands of Vietnamese troops. And Ron Miller was killed in that battle. And I'll forever have in my mind, because when I was at Fort Benning, Ron was in the class coming in as a second lieutenant right behind me, and he spent the night with Diane and I at our apartment at Fort Benning while I was getting training. And when I saw him walk away, Diane and I watched him walk away down a long walkway with his back towards us, and he would wind up in the group that was killed. There were two LZs there. LZ stands for landing zone. That one of them was X-ray and one of them was Albany. And Ron's battalion was sent in to relieve the Colonel Moore's group. And when they marched out to go to landing zone Albany, they were ambushed, and Ron was killed in that battle. Also, another good fraternity brother of mine was Captain Marker. And Mike was a fraternity brother of mine in Phi Sig at Midwestern University, and he flew in a secret mission, probably into Laos, but they never found his body. But he was a sharp individual and everything, and he died. Captain Thompson, who was a company commander in the company next to mine, I knew that he got orders to go to Vietnam, and I knew he would die over there, because he was very aggressive, gung-ho, and everything. But I was in his military funeral. When you serve as an officer, you get different orders to do things, and I got orders to be in his funeral, which I didn't mind at all. But I escorted his mother and father and his wife and children down to their seats in the military funeral.
Wow, that must have been really hard. I mean, you knew all these people, and then you saw them leave, and they never came back.
It was very difficult, and Landry, keep in mind, it's not only the men that go through a whole lot, but the wives, the mothers, the aunts, the uncles, they all go through a lot when, excuse me, our young people go to Vietnam.
Yeah, I agree. That was sad. But for now, let's take another quick break. We'll be right back.
Send me an angel, won't you send me a sign? Send me a message, watch it fall from the sky. Well, spirit surrounds me, I'm feeling fine. Let's come together now. Hey, Jesus, my Lord, everybody's fighting about God. Hail Mary, Holy Spirit, I need you, can you hear it? Hey, Jesus, my Lord, they're all fighting, my God. If I respect the way they pray, then they respect the way I pray. Hey, Jesus, hey, Jesus, hey, Jesus, hey, Jesus.
Okay, so before the break, prior to it, and before the last, couple of questions, you mentioned a movie called We Were Soldiers. Could you explain a little bit more about that? I have a clip that I want to show people from that movie, but could you, tell the audience a little more about it?
Yeah, that was, everyone needs to see that movie. One thing I want to make clear, Landry, I'm very supportive of all veterans. I have the greatest respect for anyone that served, whether it's the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Space Force. I have the greatest respect for our veterans. But I'm against endless wars because all of us were fooled into thinking different things. But that movie is about a battalion that were trained to ride on helicopters. And that battalion, Colonel Moore's battalion, and jumped on their helicopters and they went to, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, to Idrang Valley. And it's called the Valley of Death. And they landed there and they captured a couple Viet Cong, and the battalion commander sent his troops around to secure the X-ray, the landing zone, and all of a sudden, all Cain broke loose, and they were attacked and by thousands of people on this mountain. And it was the first major big battle, and hundreds of soldiers in that battle were killed and wounded. And then that relief battalion came in and they had to vacate that because they called in B-52s to drop around that mountain, and they had to march out to landing zone Albany, and that's where my friend Ron Miller lost his life.
Yeah. So you can kind of connect to this movie.
Oh, very definitely. In fact, there's a book that everyone ought to get, written by, there was a reporter that went in on one of the helicopters, and I'm having a senior moment right now, and I can't remember.
That's okay, Lionel.
Can't remember his name, but he wrote a book, We Were Soldiers Once and Young. And get the book and get the movie. I've read the book probably, and I'm not exaggerating, over 100 times because I always wondered if I could have done the right thing as an officer with my men and protected my men if I would have gone into battle. But I learned so much in the military. Landry, there were so many outstanding NCOs. When I got to C Company, I was in Company C, 2nd Battalion, 1st Training Brigade on Tank Hill is what they called it because it was a steep hill. But these NCOs, a lot of them were from Puerto Rico or Spanish speaking because they trained the people that were in the Bay of Pigs from Cuba right there, a couple years before I got there. But I'll never forget my drill instructors. First sergeant was Sergeant Martinez. My drill instructor was Sergeant Pabon from Puerto Rico. So many outstanding NCOs that I learned so much from, and really me being a second lieutenant and them being an NCO, I considered them to know so much more than I did, and we got along real fine in our company.
Well, it's good that you have respect for those people. I think a lot more people should have respect for people who did that line of work. But for people who were curious about the movie We Were Soldiers, Chris, could you play clip 3, please?
We are going into battle against a tough and determined enemy. I can't promise you that I will bring you all home alive. But this I swear, before you and before Almighty God, that when we go into battle, I will be the first to set foot on the field, and I will be the last to step off, and I will leave no one behind. Dead or alive, we will all come home together. So help me God.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie personally, but I want to see it now.
I think you should see it. Excuse me a second.
A second. So,
I'm thinking about Ron when that was playing and everything, and see the movie and know that, Landry, we need more young ladies and young men your age to get in the battle, because we need to put an end to these endless wars. I wish you could have known Mark. I wish you could have known Ron. I wish you could have known Carol Thompson, Captain Thompson. Fine young men that died. And wars are funded by bankers on both sides. But do me a favor and watch that movie and then tell me what you think, okay?
I will, Lionel. I'll tell you. So, moving on. What is one moment from your service that you'll never forget, and why has it stuck with you so far?
Well, there's a bunch of them that I'll never forget. One of them is you get orders as an officer to do different things. And there was one young recruit that was being charged for disobeying an order. And that order was to low crawl. And I'm thinking about something else while I'm telling this that I'll tell in a minute, something that I made a big mistake with. And I hope that God forgives me. But that young man was charged with disobeying an order. And I went to his company to interview people. And that young man was just so exhausted that he couldn't do, they gave him an order to do the low crawl. And what I found out then is that military justice, when you represent someone in a court martial, they want it to go the way that the big wigs to go. And they got upset for me for defending that guy. In the military, they don't care about individual soldiers. You'd be surprised, Landry, about how many calls that I would get in the middle of the night, each cycle of one of the recruits trying to commit suicide, excuse me, slashing his wrist or doing something, and I'd have to go up to the orderly room and take care of that. And they were just weeded out the Army without any care given to them or any kind of special mental health. But I want to tell you a story I haven't talked about or told you about. One of the things that I asked God to forgive me with. There was one soldier during that time. There were a lot of people protesting the war. There's things that happened at Kent State is another thing I'd like you to learn about what happened at Kent State. But people protesting the war, and I got a call in the middle of the night, and it was right around the time, I think, when several of my friends were killed in Vietnam, and he was protesting, one of the recruits, about the war, and he wanted out of the service. I was a company commander at that time, and I called my executive officer to meet me. It was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning up at the Arley room, because I had that soldier that was upset about what was going on in Vietnam in the war. And I took him over to the day room, which was where we had books and things where the troops were supposed to go, but we never really let them there. We were training all the time. And I threw him against the wall, and didn't hit him or anything, but threw him against the wall and told him that he needed to get with it. And I'll feel bad about that for the rest of my life, because, and I always wondered what happened to him. He went AOOL after we left and everything, but I was upset because of my fellow soldiers dying, and there he was protesting, but he was right and I was wrong. We shouldn't have been in that war. We were mind control as to thinking what, and so I'll have that on my mind the rest of my life.
Well, Lionel, if you ask God for forgiveness, He'll give it. I mean, that's what God says. So it's okay. I mean, we all make mistakes, and God knows it. We ask for forgiveness, and God forgives us. And if you truly feel bad about it and you've repented, God will have forgiven you, Lionel. So everything works out when you go to God.
That's right.
Also, I mean, all of your friends were like gone. Whoa, I have my voice. All of your friends were gone in a war, and you were really stressed out. So sometimes we do things that we don't really mean in times like that, when we're stressed out and under a lot of pressure. So that's okay, Lionel. God forgives you. I know it. But I did have a question for you that you kind of brought up briefly before that. I heard you were a part of a military tribunal. For people who don't know what a military tribunal is, could you explain what that is to them and how it's different from a civilian court?
Yeah, that's where they charge someone, say if they go disobey an order or go AOOL or something, and they capture them, and then they bring them before a military court. But like I said, that court is designed where they want what the top military leaders want to be carried out. It's not true justice. Like I went in there and I really proved that young man tried to do the low crawl, and he was just too exhausted and too tired. Low crawl is when you're down on your stomach and you're crawling with your elbows, and but they don't want that. The top military people don't want that.
Yeah. So, being a part of this military tribunal, it was all kind of like in favor of the people at the top.
Yes.
Yeah. When I think about like military tribunals, before I knew what it actually was, for some reason I thought it would be like more justice than a regular civilian court, because whenever you think of like the military or someone in service, you're thinking of like a patriot, like someone who's a great, loyal American. You're not thinking of someone who's like slipping money under the table and like corrupt. And I mean, I know corruption is like everywhere, but it's sad that it really is everywhere.
Yeah, Landry, it should be where justice and what's right prevails, but it's not like that. The military people are going to stick together, and there's reasons for that. You get promoted mainly in the military if you follow orders, if you go along with what they want you to do. And then after you get out of the military, excuse me, after you get out of the military, a lot of those generals go to work for these big Boeing aircraft companies, military industrial complex. They get these plush jobs and they get paid off for following orders and doing what the evil people want them to do.
Yeah. So that's that is very different from what I thought it would be. But apart from that, what is one of the most difficult things that you've had to face in your service? And how did you overcome it? What did you do?
There wasn't anything that was really difficult to me. Knowing what I know now, there would be a lot of things that would be difficult. But I didn't know them back then. I went along. I believed the lies. I believe about the Gulf of Tonkin. There's so many things about the military people don't know. Do you know, Landry, what Operation Northwoods is?
I do not. What is it, Lionel?
Okay. You need to learn about Operation Northwoods, and your audience needs to learn about it. But that is where the Joint Chiefs of Staff came up with a plan to kill their own American soldiers, to shoot down a plane or drop a bomb or do all kind of things so we could go to war and take Cuba back from Fidel Castro. Back years ago, who ran Cuba was Batista. He was a dictator by the name of Batista. And then Castro came in, and took the country over. Cuba happened to be the playground or the French Riviera back in the day where they had all the drugs, the prostitution, the gambling. Everybody went when Batista was there, and it was a playground for the rich and wealthy. So do me a favor again and do some of your homeschooling with Operation Northwoods.
I'll try and keep up with your research, Lionel, but it might take me 50 years.
That's all right.
Well, that's okay. I think in life, you can't just stop learning once you get out of school, or even if you're home, you just have to keep learning your whole life. Besides, people should want to. It's better for us. Okay. I did have a question about your military service and the people you met in the military. Who was the most impactful on you?
It would be hard to say. Probably the one that meant the most to me is that after I got out of the military and started working for the Y, I got someone that served was one of the trainees that got back in contact, and he wanted to thank me. In fact, I'll have to send you a copy of a newspaper that was written about that. But he said he was in the National Guard and he made a career out of the military and the National Guard, and he became the highest rank, a warrant officer. And he said he appreciated me so much because I was the one that guided him. He said all the NCOs were cursing as soon as they got off the buses and yelling and screaming. And I would come in and never curse, and I just motivated them. And so I had a big influence on his life. But there were so many others that I respected, like Sergeant Pabon, Sergeant Proctor, Sergeant Martinez. All of them were outstanding men who stood up for our country.
Yeah. I think it's great that you have those memories like that, and that you had all those people to look up to and respect and love as your neighbor. But one of my questions that I wanted to ask you the most was my final question for you is, what is one piece of advice out of all the advice you could give, Lionel, just one piece of advice out of all of the good advice you could possibly ever give us, what would you give us as that advice to everybody, young and old? Just what would that advice be?
Well, I've got a bunch of them, so I'm going to go through them fast. But if you want to interrupt me or have any comments, the first advice, Landry, and you've already done this, is to have a good relationship with God and Jesus. That's number one. That's the most important thing. And I'm not talking about organized religion. I'm talking about a personal religion. Yes. And you've already got that. Remember, our bodies of temples of God. And so therefore, honor God with your body and what you do and everything. So that is number one. And you already have that. So that's good. The second thing would be to honor your mother and your father. Family is so very important. Find out, Landry, as much as you can about your family history. Find out the little trinkets that your mother or your father may have, or something hanging on the wall before it's too late. Make a family tree if you can. So you know where your roots came from, and love and respect each one of your family members. And I think you already have that going. I think that's very important. Another important thing is to learn how to de-escalate situations. So when you're at work, or you're at school, or you're with family, that you can, if some kind of situation comes up that's blown up, you can de-escalate it. Let me give you an example. Say, Landry, you decide you want to become a nurse, and you knock on the door and you go into that nursing home, and there's a resident there that's all upset, angry, yelling, screaming. How do you de-escalate? You've got a choice. You can go stand over her bed and put your hands on your hips and look down at her and stare at her with those hands on your hips, which is just going to get her more upset. Or you can sit down and put your hand maybe on her arm or her leg and say, I want you to tell me how you're feeling. I can see you're hurting. How can we help you and solve this? So learn how to de-escalate situations, whether it's at work or with a loved one, or even after you get married with a spouse. It's good to learn how to de-escalate things.
Yeah. So have a lot of sympathy for people when doing so, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree, Lionel.
Another thing is to And this, I'm going to say it two different opposite ways. Try to never burn bridges behind yourself, because you're never going to tell when you're going to have to go down that path again. But if you're in a toxic relationship, you've got to burn that bridge to get away, because those people, will drag you down. Uh, so, don't burn bridges, but at the same time, if you're in a toxic situation, it's going to be best to burn. Another thing, be an advocate for our most vulnerable people, our children, our seniors, those with mental illness, special needs children, adults that may not have the ability to speak out. So, pick a group and try and help them out. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Another thing, develop your listening skills over speaking. People want to be listened to. You can learn so much more. You don't learn anything when you're talking, because you already know. So become a good listener and everything.
Yeah.
Most people go through life wishing to be listened to more. Uh, when you do speak, then people will listen.
That's kind of why. Sorry, that's kind of why I did this history thing, because veterans got treated very poorly when, veterans out of war and out of service. You obviously made it clear, people in the military have poor mental health, and, the military isn't doing anything to help treat that. But I hope that with this podcast and HisStory, I can reach more people and more veterans, and that they can, get their story out and people can listen to it.
And Landry, that is so nice, because I can remember back in the day when I left the military, I did not wear my uniform home or anything, because people in the military were yelled at, spit at. There was no parade for them, and they gave their lives and everything they had for this country. Now, they happened to be fooled at the time. A couple more follow things is, don't ever judge a person by their looks, race, or gender. You can't judge someone because you haven't walked in their shoes. You don't know. Someone may be upset because they didn't have any loving parents that cared for them. They may have been a little girl or a little boy that was sexually abused, so they've had a messed up life. Instead of judging someone, try and understand them. Now, I've just got a couple more. Debt is your enemy. If I can tell you anything, Landry, stay away from debt, whether it be credit cards, car loans, mortgages, student loans, because if you have that, it can set you up for a very difficult life. Debt encourages you to spend more money than you have. Debt costs money. You're getting more money added on through interest and everything. Debt will borrow from your future income, because if you're making, say, 80,000 a year, and you've got to pay 10,000 a year from debt, then you're not making 80,000 a year. Debt can keep you from reaching your financial goals. Excuse me. Debt can when people get married, young couples, the thing that they argue about the most is debt and spending and all of that. So that's also very important.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I'm going to cover uh, is surround yourself with people that are good and decent. Pick your friends wisely because you're going to become who you surround yourself with. I guarantee you, if you, Landry, pick all of your friends that are computer experts, you're going to become a computer expert. If you pick friends that go out and drink and go to bars and party all the time, you're going to become more likely a drinker, a drunk, an alcoholic, and everything. So, that's the final thing I would say about that.
Yeah, I agree with that last one. I've had made friends with people who didn't believe in God, people who didn't know God. But the thing about that is, it's reciprocal, it's opposite, or not opposite, but, it's vice versa. If I'm with them, maybe I could rub off on them, but I'm firm in my belief in God. And I know that some of my friends that I would talk to God with, they accepted God. They found him. But some of my other friends that didn't know God, they didn't want anything to do with God. And I tried and I tried. I didn't force anything on them. I just, hey, you should try this, But they didn't want anything to do with God still. So I think the best thing to do then is just to brush the sand off of your feet and keep walking.
That's exactly right. Stick by that. And Landry, you have such a good foundation. And everything that we build in life has to be built on a good foundation. So keep that up.
All right, Lionel. Thank you so much for being my first guest on my HisStory podcast. Before I close the show, I'd like everyone to keep this Bible verse in mind that I had.
Landry, can I interrupt you 1 second? Before that, can I tell you two things? And then I want to say this to all your listeners that are listening. And here it is. If all this is to all your listeners, each of us has a power to lift another's burden, a smile to a stranger, a listening ear, a decision not to judge, an unexpected compliment. Simple acts of compassion become powerful expressions of God's love to those in need. In a way, our hands become his hands, benefiting all within our reach. And then, Landry, my final words to you, and you've probably heard this Irish verse before, but I want to say this to you, Landry, from my heart to your heart. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields, and may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Landry, God bless you.
Thank you, Lionel. That was so sweet. This is why you're one of my favorites. But anyways, before I close the show, I'd like to read a Bible verse that I want everybody to keep in mind. I don't have it memorized, okay? I'm not Andrew Serafini. One day maybe, but for now, I'm just gonna read it. It's Lamentations 3:28-30 MSG. When life is heavy and hard to take, go off by yourself. Enter silence, bow in prayer. Don't ask questions, wait for hope to appear. Don't run from trouble. Take it full face, because the worst is never the worst. Okay. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching my first podcast, everybody. I thought I did okay. There were times when I was a little bit awkward, but now that we're at the end, I'm kind of like in my zone a little bit more, which I should have been earlier, but I don't know. It's my first thing. Cut me some slack, people. Anyways, the show is sponsored by Street Talk, obviously. And next week, Stiletto will be back with her guest, Shepherd Andrew Serafini, founder of Light Dove Ministry. But don't go anywhere just yet, because, you know, Stiletto always makes an outro to leave on a happy note. So, Chris, could you roll the outro?
La 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 lava, chicken. Steve's lava chicken, yeah, tasty as hell. Ooh, mamacita, now you're ringing the bell. Crispy and juicy, now you're having a snack. Ooh, super spicy, it's a lava attack.
No, it's not. It is rain. It is raining. Ow! It is raining. Little Clay, it's raining. You poked my heart. Little Clay. You poked my heart. You poked my heart.
Tell you about the devil dogs. What did I tell you? That you like. I said don't buy these. I said don't buy devil dog. I get fat when I eat this shit. I don't want it. And I'm gonna eat one anyway.
Rapaz, que é isso?
Gente, é um show de talento.
I think I'd rather you just wash the fucking dishes and shut the fuck up! So, is there anything else I can get you folks this evening?
I think I'd like a hot fudge sundae.
Oh, that does sound good. I'll be right back with that for you.
Hello.
Damn!
Have you ever just been like, damn?
You're not gonna fucking believe this, sweetheart. Literally, just a second ago. As soon as I seen you. It's crazy.
I hope you're having a good day. And remember, I'm always with you and thinking about you.
To be honest, I was having a great day until your thigh-gina came out of nowhere.
My junk just started swinging around like a baseball bat. So I just have to be careful with it, you know.
Boys have a penis. Girls have a vagina.
One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Please be standing.
Yeah! Stand up, boy, because that's the kind of energy we're bringing for the next foreseeable future. And it's good to see young men act like men again. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's his right if he wants to sit. No, it's his duty to stand.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
I'm ashamed to be an American.
Then you can fucking leave. And that applies for everybody. If you don't like it here, then leave. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. Shit! Bye!
Adios, America. Adios. I tried to cross the river, but they caught me. Donald Trump was not messing around.
And it's Doug.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's it.
The president is more interested in giving that taxpayer money to trade schools, in programs, in state schools, where they are promoting American values, but most importantly, educating the next generation based on skills that we need in our economy and our society. Apprenticeships, electricians, plumbers. We need more of those in our country and less LGBTQ graduate majors from Harvard University. And that's what this administration's position is. And we also are not going to tolerate the illegal, criminal, anti-Semitic behavior that we saw take place at Harvard and many other college campuses across the country.
With one big, beautiful bill, we will protect over 7 million jobs, raise take-home pay for American families by up to $13,000 per household, and reduce taxes for working-class Americans by as much as 13%. Those are big numbers. The bill will also remove 1.4 million illegal aliens from Medicaid and protect the programs for truly needy Americans.
Americans are growing more and more optimistic about the economy under this president. Consumer confidence surged in May with the biggest monthly jump in 4 years, smashing expectations. According to the release from the Consumer Confidence Index, the increase in confidence was broad-based across all age groups, income groups, and political affiliations. Our country is clearly heading in the right direction under President Trump's bold leadership. For the first time in history of Rasmussen polling, a majority of Americans believe the country is on the right track. It's unsurprising because the president is fulfilling the promises he made to the American people.